Welcome in, everybody. It is another episode, special edition episode of Scarves and Spikes. We have a little bit of a change in the lineup today. We're going to do our player ratings live.
I'm looking for Sydney.
In front of you.
I'm looking for Sydney.
Missing somebody. I don't know where he's at. Something about he had to move. I don't know. You know, that important stuff.
He's at a concert tonight, right?
I think that was last night.
Oh yeah. That might have been.
He's a busy man. He has things going on in life. So it's gonna be a fun episode, guys. We're gonna have a great time as usual. We've got a lot to talk about. We're gonna talk about, again, player ratings video is live this time, so you're gonna get to see our super secret method of giving ratings to players that may or may not matter. It is what it is. And then we are gonna move on to the full-on Chicago match recap. We're going to talk about the Open Cup. We're going to talk about the Thiago Almada rumors. We're going to talk about the issues at goalkeeper or lack thereof. We're going to talk about predictions for the Open Cup itself. And then next Thursday, this coming Thursday, we're going to be back. Me and Sydney will be back that time for another edition of the show. So we've got a busy week ahead of us. So how you doing, Tommy? You good?
I don't know what I watched yesterday. I'm still trying to figure it out. Multiple people I saw on Twitter, and then Mike Conti also on the post game said that they forgot that we won that game. And it really does feel like we just didn't win. Like at the end, it was like, oh, we did it. But I was like, man, that was a rough 90 minutes.
It really was. It was miserable, honestly. Like I wrote in the article on Dirty South, they always do the quotes article and all. And when I got done watching the game, and then we did our Spaces show last night, which was good. It was a great show. I don't know that I knew what to feel. Like my emotions were all over the place because in the 90th minute, I was irate. I was so upset. And then in the 99th minute, I was elated and also upset and angry and excited and it was just so frustrating. So I don't know. Just so many emotions at one time. I put that in the article. Like it's a win that feels kind of like a loss. You take the 3 points and you run with it for sure, but it's just a weird feeling. Soccer's just that game. I don't know.
I was screaming like we should have 9 points in 3 games, and we almost ended up with just 3.
Yeah. And maybe it is the soccer gods' way of giving the points back that they should have won. I don't know, because it's about time the soccer gods started giving Atlanta United something over the past 3 years. But whatever, it is what it is. So we're here. They got the win. They got the 3 points, thankfully. Ariel and I'm glad I was inebriated. Yeah, I mean, Don't blame you at all. It was it felt like an inebriated match. It played out like an inebriated match. So Bruno, hey, yeah, weird seeing us on the day after the game. Normally we're doing this, but it's private, and now we're doing it live. So this should be a good time.
Mondays are rough, just in general.
Yeah, and it's just
usually weird. I'm like already on the couch, like just getting ready to watch wrestling and fall asleep on the couch. But
yeah,
I drink some energy and I'm ready.
Ready to go? Just take a shot?
Nope, no shots. No. I'll be falling asleep.
Well. All right. So we're going to start off, guys, with the player ratings as usual. But I do want to do our quick plugs. We have to, not that we have to, but we want to. We have obviously our Patreon that you guys know about, you've heard about, hopefully you're a part of. If not, it's patreon.com/scarves and spikes. We'll put a link up later somewhere in the chat for sure. And you guys, we appreciate the support. Obviously, we're trying to give you guys stuff back as well. We recently had an episode that's for patrons that had to do with the Open Cup, and it was Jake Selleck from the cup.us, who he's been following the Open Cup for a long time. Did a great job explaining the ins and outs and the nuances of the Open Cup and everything else. So great episode. Go check it out. But patreon.com/scarves and spikes. And then, of course, make sure you're following us on the Twitter, which apparently is glitching right now, according to the chat. And subscribe on YouTube and Twitch and all that great stuff. So, with that being said,
Ooh, Tyler, just a quick idea what we didn't even talk about. Since we have some people in the chat, if you guys want to throw in your ratings and a quick reason why, we'll throw those out there too and see what you guys are thinking and tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah, or right. Hopefully, have a little bit of fun with it. So, diving
Who we got
in,
first?
the first ones that we will do, and I got to prepare something as well because I'm always curious what FOTMob says about the particular players and how much they agree or disagree. So I'm not going to pull it up yet, but I'm going to pull it up after we give our initial rating. But the initial group is actually not one player, but two is going to be the goalkeepers as a whole. We'll start off with Quentin Westberg because he started the match. He played a 45 minutes, and we rated him last week. I mean, he's kind of becoming like a crucial part of the show now, but we'll start off with Quentin and then we'll move to Diop after that. So, again, super secret player ratings. It's always key if I can have my pen available, which I don't.
Someone already stole my answer in the chat. Oh, two people stole it. My
Look
answer in the chat.
I like the answers. I'll throw them up in a second. So,
all right.
Ready? Yep.
That's a
my
spiky
pen is
hair.
missing. I'll tell you the number though. I was going to go with a 7, an even 7.
All right.
But you go ahead. I know we normally do the lower one first, but I'm going to concede and let you talk about it first.
I thought he did fine. Passing, I mean, with both these guys have been a lot more accurate, which I think that we kind of forgot what Brad was like until Brad came back and then started just booting him straight out of bounds. But he was fine. I didn't think that there was any problems with them. I think he made I remember honestly that this game just kind of is meshing into one. Like it feels like a year ago, but I mean, he did his job. He didn't allow a goal in, and probably should give him a little bit more because we really haven't talked about it. But at warm-ups, he felt something and continued. Said he was okay to play. Played through some pain, and I think they said there was some swelling in his leg after a halftime, and that's not good usually when that happens. And as of right now, I don't think we have any update on him yet. The only thing that I saw was Twitter. He posted quite a few, or not Twitter, Instagram posted a few pictures of himself and I think said God is great or something like that. So, I mean, that, I don't know, that can mean anything. But yeah. I thought he was good.
Yeah, that could go either way. I'm hoping that it's just a simple, like, he tweaked it, fell on it wrong, whatever, and it got a little bit of just an aggravation in the match. Give him a week off, hopefully, and he'll be right back at it. I just don't think that I don't think that it's anything crazy. I obviously wasn't there to be able to watch the warm-ups and kind of what happened, but as far as his match is concerned, I thought he did a great job. I think maybe 7 is what I gave him. Maybe that's a little low. I'm not. You don't dock him anything for not playing the full 90. If he had to come off, he had to come off. It's different than last year. If it were last year, you would kind of hope like, hey man, can you just please stay on for a little bit longer? But Diop is more than capable, and he showed it last night. We're going to talk about him in a second, but he's more than capable of handling things. And I don't think anything that Westberg did was wrong. And as a matter of fact, it may not get a lot of publicity and he doesn't get enough credit for it, but he had a crucial save against Kakamara in the first half that kept it 1-0. One of those where he just similar to what Diop did in the second half during the giveaway, and we'll talk about that. The giveaway from Ibarra that led to the actual goal in the first place, but Diop's initial save that he had was very similar to the one Westberg had in the first half. So, yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I would maybe ding him on a little bit is kind of like what you were saying, the communication in the back. When you realize that idea that worked for the first 15 minutes wasn't working anymore with your back line and with Sosa being so far back, so deep, and making it difficult to play through the middle, that's when you as a goalkeeper, because you see the whole field, you've got to stand up and say, hey, I need you got to push up higher. You got to do this. You got to do that. Lennon, Gutman, you got to drop back, help out a little bit. Like that's where you got to kind of have to be a coach on the field and make a little bit of a difference. So that's my only maybe gripe. But other than that, I mean, that's being picky. I thought he was fine. So, going to the chat. Let's see, Zilf. There it is. Gave him a 7.5 because of spiky hair. Bruno,
Do you know how long it takes to like put gel in your hair? Like I put glue in my hair to get this up, and it takes a while. So absolutely 7.5 for spiky hair.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because that just brought me back to like 2000
high school.
Do you remember when the people put Elmer's glue in their hair?
I don't do that. It's like whatever that got to be glue stuff.
Okay,
but, it's like that thick hair gel.
Yeah,
not like the something about Mary.
It's
hair gel, but like but it's called got to be glued.
Okay, well, no, that's cool, but it's called glued, but it's hair gel. But you remember when people were actually putting like, glue in their hair?
Yeah,
dude, what a weird world we live in. Anyway, wild.
We'll be back to the 90s at some point.
Yeah,
everything comes back.
Everything goes back. Yeah, Bruno 7.5. Jimothy Riddle, aka T Riddle, who insists that we use letter grades as opposed to number grades, gave him an A- because they did really well, but there were iffy moments, and this is for both. He's saying.
So Garrett, Riddle, we can't do that. I'm sorry, we can't do the letter grades because A stands for Aruju, and you can't give an A to Aruju, so we can't do the letter grades. Sorry, that's we're not. I don't think we're grading him today, but that's my one Aruju line for the day. And continue.
There's gonna be more.
I'm sure.
Garrett Sims giving him a 7.5 for the game. 12 out of 10 for being a Bond villain.
Ooh, this is lining up. Up because when there's a villain, you need a hero. And there was a hero. There was a hero at this game. The Batman.
The Batman himself.
Show him our new starting keeper.
Here he is.
Yeah, that's Batman our guy. Himself. That guy's fighting crime.
He really is. Like he has an alter ego, a second life going on every night. He is not just a goalkeeper.
When he was standing up, it looks like he's got like these gigantic things in his pocket. My buddy goes, looks like there's like full on like 90s Game Boys in there. Like they're gigantic, something in there. But this outfit, like this is what is he going to wear at MLS Cup? What is he going to show up at when he's our starting keeper for MLS Cup? That's what I'm looking at. This outfit's great. We'll share it on Twitter if you're listening to us later. But this outfit is this is what he fights crime in. This is what he beats Westberg up in.
in the alter ego / like other dimension world that is Clément Diop versus Quentin Westberg. Can't wait for the comic.
Diop is going to win every time.
So, all right. Well, moving on to him as far as our actual ratings, we had a few more in the chat. Brian giving him a 7 because of bad distribution out of the back. I think that's all the numbers I see. So, yeah. All right. As far as our numbers for Clément Diop, I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him a decimal point. Oh, look at that. With the glasses and everything.
Yeah, I gave him an 8.
Yeah. 8.2 for me. So, you went first last time. I'll go first this time. For me, I don't think from a goalkeeping perspective necessarily there was a lot of difference. I think you got to give credit to Clément Diop. I mean, there was, but in the sense that like Diop came in and made maybe a couple more saves. He had the really crucial one, which I hate that he didn't get rewarded for. I think that's my biggest thing is, and Derek Etienne even mentioned it in the post-match press conference, aka the locker room. that he was upset that they couldn't give Diop the clean sheet.
The
He
half
came
sheet.
out, huh?
The half sheet.
The half sheet, yeah, the half clean sheet.
Yeah.
He came out, he did his job. It's never easy, I think, to be told at halftime, hey man, you're a goalkeeper who really don't ever get subbed in anyway, but at halftime you're going in. And for that mindset to just click and him to go in, look like he hadn't missed a beat, look like he was a starting goalkeeper for, the past calendar year. I thought his distribution was okay. Like, I mean, there's really nothing that stands out, but there's definitely nothing that, like, I think you kind of ding him on. He did everything he was supposed to do. He also I give him higher because he was put to the grinder in a lot of ways in that second half. If you're Westberg, at least you had 15, 20 minutes of, your team helping you out a little bit. But Clément Diop I'm just going to say it, he got absolutely screwed in the second half because the midfield was not helping out the back line. The back line's back there doing everything they can, and credit to Miles and Parada, and then Lennon and Gutman for dropping back and helping out. But that's where your midfield has to help out too. Not just defending, but also trying to move the ball forward. And that save that he had after Ibarra's giveaway, I thought that was game right there. He saved it, gave me about 5 seconds of just pure joy, and then it got dinged in anyway. But I just, if you've watched him with the twos, the one match I think he played so far this season, he did really well. And then from a perspective, and I think Jarrett Smith, great friend of the show, Soccer Down Here, he pointed it out last night as well. But to piggyback on what he said, Diop is the guy that is at training, and he's the last one to leave the field every single day. Every day that we're there at the training ground, Clément Diop sets up on the goal closest to us, and all he does is take free kicks from Almada, Araujo, Giacomakis, Etienne, Lennon. Like, I mean, he's just out there trying to get better. And last time I was there, 2 weeks ago, him and Pineda and a couple of the assistant coaches pulled out the tech ball table just because he requested it to get him out there and kind of, play a little bit of tech ball just to get better with his feet. The guy is constantly trying to get better. So that's my rant, my soapbox, my good soapbox moment for Diop. The guy just wants to be a great goalkeeper, and he showed it last night, I thought.
Let's pull the tape because I'm pretty sure I said at the beginning of the season that there's potential here for him that he could possibly be our starter next year. What you have, like right now, you have him on cheap contract, and if he becomes the straight up starter next year, then maybe you probably give him a bump there. But he came in for an opportunity. The front office, for all the trash we talk about them. I'm going to say him. We're used to saying him, but we should say the whole. They weren't prepared, and in their mind, I get it. They're saying that last year Brad never gets hurt. Brad's fine. He starts every game. Brad goes down. You have nobody back there. You got a guy that basically retired, quit on you, and then you got Rocco, and then you have to bring someone else in because he's being so bad. Here you bring in two legitimate veterans with MLS experience, and one goes down, you've already got one here. And yeah, Zilf saying Garces or Reyes next year. There's a very good chance one of those two are. I mean, I would say that is how much money we're paying right now, our keepers, and specifically Brad on here, that they're going to be much cheaper going into next year. I still think that you might have a veteran, and then you bring one of these other two up, and then you have them fight for the starting position. But this guy is good, and I enjoyed it. And he actually had a save that really didn't count because it was offside, but he still made the save. And that was like really to get him in the game, like him just taking that because he hadn't really touched the ball at all until that point. He still made the save, whether it didn't, mean anything. So I was impressed with him. There were a couple points where he was screaming at the back line and they weren't listening. And you could tell he was getting really frustrated. And I don't know if it was because it was so loud because they were over by the supporter section.
Yeah,
at that
there was
point.
a free kick that he was screaming, trying to get him set up.
Okay, so I'm glad you saw that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he was yelling and nobody was listening. I think he was specifically yelling at Parada, and Parada was just looking at the ball that was about to come in. But I think that he's good, and if that's who we've got to roll with for at least, I mean, we don't know it's with Westberg, but if even we have to roll with him up until Brad comes back or Westberg comes back, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. Where it's night and day between this year and last year in terms of what you have available at goalkeeper. And we're going to hit on it, I think, a little bit more when we actually get past the ratings part. But you're in much better position than you were last year, 100%.
What a terrible time for this to happen. Like the deadline day eve. Like that's what it is here, because today the transfer window closes, I think, at midnight.
Yeah.
And you've got to, you're telling Westbrook you're sleeping. You're sleeping at the training facility. We're finding out what's wrong with you. You are not leaving until we know if we need to bring on somebody else or not. And we haven't heard anything yet. So, unless something comes up in the next couple hours, you have to expect that they think that maybe this is short term and then they can do some emergency call ups.
Yeah.
But that's the hope.
Yeah. And on that, the emergency call up, like one that you could do this week, because, typically they're 4 days. You sign Reyes on Wednesday for the Open Cup and goes into effect that day. Then you've got him for the Open Cup, and then you get Thursday, Friday, whatever, and then you have him Saturday against Nashville. And again, for those that don't watch the twos, Reyes he's going to be just fine. I don't think you're going to have any issues with him. The only issue is he's young and he hasn't had that first team experience yet, as opposed to Diop and Westberg, like being backups. They've done everything that they need to do to, I guess, be the veteran goalkeeper that you want back there that you kind of missed in Brad earlier in the season. Reyes, and as Zilf saying it in the chat, Reyes could start right now. You're going to have the mental mistakes probably. That's fine. But Reyes is more than capable as a goalkeeper. So totally agree.
I'm back. Did I go away?
You froze for a minute, and I was a little concerned that everything went wrong. And I don't know, you just had a cold stare on me for about 30 seconds. And I was like, geez, is he pissed off at me or something? Like, do I need to stop talking about Reyes?
No, the internet went out, I guess, apparently. But I'm back.
Well, you're back. You're back. That was perfect because I was on a rant about Vicente Reyes. So I will say, I'll give you one thing from Clement Diop real quick. His quote from last night in the locker room, talking about, training with the players and if he kind of believes that helps him out at all. He said, I'm trying to see as much as possible because I feel like if I can save it during practice, I have a better chance to save it during the game. That's Diop's personality. That's his mindset. That's how he is. So even if I don't want to say stuck with Clement Diop, because you're not stuck with him. He's a good guy. He's a good goalkeeper. But if you have him and Westberg is out for any amount of time, you're okay because you then have Reyes in the wings. Hopefully you don't have to use him, but he's not a bad backup at all. He's a very good backup. But Diop is more than capable. He could start on most MLS teams as it stands right now. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And I know we spent a lot of time on the goalkeepers, but
it's a lot. It's important.
Yeah, it's super important. And to go back through, Zilf gave him a 7.5. Bruno gave him an 8.5. Elliot gave him a 6. Zilf,
but then he changed his mind. Elliot changed his mind,
and Elliot changed his to an 8. So I like it. So, all right, moving on from them, talking about trying to change around our player ratings. Moving on from the goalkeepers to the wonder kid himself, Thiago Almada. All right, I'm gonna figure out something clever for this one. Maybe I'll save.
I don't know if I have anything clever.
I don't know if I have anything clever either. I just, All right, I got it. You ready?
Sure.
Let's go.
I have nothing clever. Okay.
There's actually a decimal point there. It's not 71. 7.1.
If he didn't get the assist, what would you give him? Because I mean, he had the hockey assist. I know he had that, and that was nice. Like that was a beautiful pass to Lennon. and
Yeah.
great for Brooks here, and we're getting to him because he definitely deserves a rating here. But after that, I mean, it seemed like nobody can complete a pass after
Yeah.
that immediately,
Yeah.
including Almada. Like, I thought Almada did not look good after that play.
I agree. I think I would. So yeah, if hypothetically, if he didn't get that assist, I think you're looking at maybe a 6. Um, and
Ooh,
I say
I think
6.
that's too much.
The only reason I say that is because even with the passing issues and the distribution issues and all that, he was still drawing attention, and making runs out wide and kind of commanding the midfield, maybe not by practice, but he was still telling guys where to go, what to do, the trying to change up the shape a little bit. He was still doing stuff off the ball that was important, but he just wasn't the Almada that that he can dribble through a bunch of guys. Ball is glued to his feet. He just didn't have his best game, and that's okay. You're not gonna have a 10 out of 10 game every time. That's just not how it is. That's not how soccer is. But I do think it was a poor performance overall from the entire team. Almada's not left out of that. And yeah, I mean, he got the hockey assist. If he was not on the field, though, we'd be looking at a much different scoreline, I think, right now entirely. We'd be looking at probably a loss, honestly, as opposed to what should have been maybe a point, and we squeaked out 3. So I'd still give him the 6 even then. I gave him the 7.1. I was going to give him a 7. I added the decimal just because he won a World Cup. I don't know.
Oh, geez. Still giving him points for the World Cup.
Yeah. That's like a lifelong thing. You just get extra points.
It was a bad game across the board, and someone asking about his value. Ariel, since there's so many eyes on Mata, how does this affect his market value? It doesn't. Like, you just see this whole team was just bad in general after that. And I don't know if the players are fully to blame. We talked a little bit about this on Spaces too, but the coaching staff definitely has a lot, I think, to do with some of this. And I know they're not on the field making the passes, but I don't think they were making some of the changes that should have been made, that needed to be made, especially at halftime, because it didn't get better at half. It got worse. And it really didn't seem like, I want to just find out if this team had the flu. Like, that's the only way that can make me feel anywhere better about this game, because I feel worse about this game than Columbus.
Yeah.
Like, immediately after that, I was like, we had pretty much all of our players, and it wasn't there, and everybody just looked off, and a potential couple small changes could have maybe changed your fortune there, and it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that's part of what Pineda said in the press conference after the fact is, and we talked about it a little bit before, and maybe we can hit on it now, but like, it's refreshing that Pineda comes out and says, no, I mean, we basically sucked it up yesterday or last night, or I mean, in his case, it was just prior, but we sucked it up. We were not the good team. We were not the better team. He even went and told Ezra Hendrickson, Chicago's head coach, that like they were the better team. And they were. You take the win, but you still got to go back and fix what happened, because what happened was not good. You got lucky. Being lucky is better than being good sometimes. You can't rely on it, though. This team should have blown Chicago out of the water, really, and they didn't. And it's concerning because you're now coming up against Memphis, which is, we'll talk about that in a minute. But then past that, really, you have Nashville. And that's not going to be an easy match by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the way that things have been working lately, they may go to Nashville and win 3-0 or something crazy, because that's just the way soccer works. But right now you had, this Toronto match where you should have won. Then you go to, you have Chicago come down, you barely win. The team's not playing the best right now. They're not closing out matches the way they should. You have Giakoumakis, who thankfully is there to will in goals, because he's just that guy. But you have to fix what's going on and get everybody back on track, because right now you're not going in the trajectory that you need to be. I understand you're not going to have blowouts in every match, as much as we wish we could. But right now you're not trending the way that you need to trend in all aspects of the game. On paper, maybe, whatever. But there's just something missing here, and they've got to figure it out.
For sure. And like you said, Pineda, I think when he first came on and when they lost the game, we watched it and we knew they were bad. And he would come out and like defend the players like to a point where it was just too strong. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like if you've ever played FIFA, like you get the three options. It's like
Yeah.
praise, like relax, and then scream. It was like everything was praise.
Yeah.
We're like, you just need to scream sometimes,
keep that
right?
morale
And
up.
yeah,
Flip a chair.
but like it's bad sometimes. And I think everybody needed a call out on that game, including Pineda as well, because you know even some of the lineup choices, and we'll get on this right after that. We do the last couple ratings here, but I thought the lineup was ridiculous. But we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, the tactics maybe started off well, and then there was an adjustment made, and then there was no adjustment made to that adjustment, and that's where things kind of went haywire. So we'll definitely talk about it. Other folks in the chat, Bruno giving Almada a 6, Zilf giving him a 6.8. Wasn't very good besides that pass to Lennon.
And that's for Zilf. That's like
I know,
he's
right?
Almada. He's Almada. He is the Almada fan. So him saying that, like,
definitely
it hurt.
Yeah,
it hurt me. I know it hurt him typing that. So
I know that was painful, I'm sure. Garrett gave him a 6.5. The pass to Brooks was very good. The pass to Brooks, I'm gonna be nitpicky real quick. That pass to Brooks was good. That pass to Brooks was not Thiago Almada good, though. That pass to Brooks was overcooked. And we're so spoiled in saying this, but Almada he can play a better long ball than that, actually. And it's just credit to Lennon, who we're going to talk about in a second, for getting on the end of it, because the dude he runs and he doesn't stop running. So I'll just point out that, like, I think Almada could have even done better on that. I think we've seen him do better than that. But that's being super nitpicky, like super nitpicky. Elliott giving him a 7. So, and because I skipped him, Emilio giving him a 6.8, and I think that's all the numbers I see. I'll go back and give you the other ratings on the other ones in a second. But interestingly, FOTMob gave him a 7.4 yesterday.
All right.
So, whatever. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's closer to mine than anybody else's. So apparently I don't know, I guess in the FOTMob frame of mind. Going back to Clement Diop, so this is where I really get irritated. They gave him a 6.3 yesterday.
What?
Yeah. Just whatever. And then they gave Westberg, a 6.3 as well. So at least they were even. Whatever. All right.
Maybe they really thought they were a 12 and just divided it in half.
Yeah. Just got them right through the middle.
Yeah, right.
Dak saying Almada seems somewhat sloppy. Do you think he was holding back because of his injury? I don't think it's because of his injury. Personally, I think the whole game was just kind of sloppy. I just don't think anything was good with anybody really, except for the goalkeepers, really. And I don't think it was an injury. I think maybe you've got a weird week coming up, and that's just in their heads a little bit, and they're maybe not as focused on this game as they should have been. I don't know. It's really difficult to say, but I don't think it was an Almada specific thing. I think it was the whole team.
Agreed.
All right, Justin giving him a 7, and then Colonel throwing it back to Diop, gave Diop a solid 9. So there you go. All right, moving on from next? Almada. What you got?
So who's next?
Who's next? It is Brooks Lennon.
Do you give Brooks the hockey assist and then give Parada the assist and then give whoever's players Like, there's the butt fumble. Now there's the butt goal.
The
Like,
fumble Ruski.
yeah, like, does Lennon, I mean, I guess it's an own goal, so no one gets the assist, but he should have 2 assists.
He really should.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave him a 9.2.
Okay, I gave him a 9.
Okay, cool. And the little squiggly line is his heart rate because he never stops running. I don't know, man. I just we'll pick our we'll pick our man of the match after we finish up the player ratings, I think. But I think Brooks Lennon.
Is it Brooks? Are you going to say Brooks?
All right, fine.
Okay.
I'll give you spoiler alert.
That's mine too. So
mine is Brooks Lennon. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're there. You said it was controversial. And our text messages, you said it was going to be controversial, and I knew immediately it was Brooks Lennon.
Or Araujo. Then it would be really controversial.
Well, that's what I said. You were going to pick Araujo, but I didn't really think that was actually a thing. If it was, I would have just quit the show. And
questioning anything that I've ever written.
Ever that you've ever said, yeah.
No, yeah, Brooks Lennon, man of the match for me. He should have 2 assists. And that's not just because of the goal that went in. I mean, if you go back to 2 minutes before that actual goal, Parada had the header that it just was aimed right at Chicago's goalkeeper. And I mean, he was whipping in some beautiful crosses. Then, of course, you got to give him mad props for the run that he made to get on the end of that ball from Thiago Almada and then play it back perfectly to the penalty spot for Giakoumakis to take that shot. And what really excites me is the fact that he had one of those opportunities a couple of matches ago that was almost identical, and he flubbed the cross, completely flubbed it. And then this one, he did it perfectly. I mean, he never gave up on that run. And I was sitting there thinking the whole time, because I coached, kids matches all day yesterday, and I'm always, harping on the kids, don't stop until you hear a whistle. And I think, honestly, a lot of even professional players would have given up on that run. I don't think they would have thought they could have made it. And Lennon, he trucked it all the way to the end line. And I think it was just almost like that one in the World Cup with Japan, where it looks like it was over the line and it was so close. I don't think it was over. I think it was a valid goal and everything, but it was close. He never gave up on it, played it back. Giakoumakis did what he did, and that was really what changed the game. So I just give credit to him. The guy never stops running. He hustles. He's working on being a leader on the field. And to me, yeah, he should have 2 assists. And for that, that's why he's my man of the match.
Jason Longshore said that he is the best right back in the league. I don't know if I would go that far, but I would say he's probably one of the most consistent. I mean, the guy leaves it out there and is, unless there's traffic cones out on the field, he's usually pretty healthy. And, we've really dogged on him a lot for his crosses, right? Like, his crosses have not been good a lot. And but even though the league and say that their chances created, and we're like, what kind of chances are they? They're not good chances, right? And it seems like he's getting better. And he's also seems to be gaining some chemistry with Giakoumakis. And you've seen that through the last couple of games where he hasn't really had anybody good since he's come along, right? Like, it's been a disaster basically since he's come on, because Joseph got hurt immediately and he's had all the backups. He had a broken Joseph. He really hasn't had any good targets to go, and he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable with him, and you could tell that they're gaining that chemistry. So hopefully it continues to build. Gressel and Joseph had that chemistry, and now you just got to hope these two can build it.
Yeah, definitely. And if Lennon can become Giakoumakis's Gressel, then I'm all for it. I think if I could add anything to Brooks Lennon's game, it would just be, because he's always the guy that's going to make that vertical run all the way to the end line, just like he did last night. I would love to see him maybe try and take some of the space that Araujo likes to take by cutting inside and not being afraid to take a shot on goal every once in a while. He's been fairly successful in the preseason, and then this year obviously had the goal against Columbus, which was the definition of a consolation goal. But he did it. And when he tends to kind of appear in the box, it's kind of like Gutman. Your right back just shows up in the box. And you can take teams by surprise when that happens. And I think that would throw teams off because they always expect Araujo to be the guy that cuts inside, and then you expect Lennon to be the one that runs straight towards the end line looking for the cross or whatever. Switch it up a little bit, and I think he could add on some goals to all those assists that I expect him to get this year.
Araujo ranking MIA.
He just had
MIA. It's not Miami. It's not Miami. It's MIA.
MIA.
Jeez. I forget that he's on the field sometimes, unless it's sometimes like a really good defensive play, or I'm screaming at him because he just runs right into the guy. And we said it every week. Like this is his time to shine, though. This Wednesday, he's going to score a brace because that's what Araujo does. He kills it in Open Cup. He scores bangers.
Yeah, I mean, if he can do what he did against Chattanooga last year, against Memphis this year, I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, though, like you got to do that against MLS teams. You have to, as a DP, you have to. I don't know. We talked about it on the Spaces last night. I know there is more out of Araujo. I just need it to happen soon.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents.
So real quick, I don't know if anyone's watched the show True Blood that was on a long time ago, but there was a character on the show, and the name was Suki, and there was a player, I forget his name, that was on Chicago, but I just heard Suki, like non-stop. Like I swear he touched the ball every 15 seconds. That was the only name that I heard. Like it was just Suki. Oh my gosh. I was like, I had to change it to because you had Fox, you had the Apple announcers, and then you had Jason. I ended up with Jason and Mike at the end. I couldn't handle the other announcers at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So he had flashbacks, essentially.
Oh man, it was just too much. Like, all right, come on. Like, can someone else touch this ball? It was just weird rant.
It's clearly the only one that they had kept an eye on in their pre-match, getting ready and learning all the names, because they did a great job with Atlanta's names. You knew Shabilko when he came on, and besides that, there weren't a lot of names thrown out by the announcers last night.
No.
So, all right. We got Elliott giving Brooks a 9. Got Dak giving him an 8. Got Justin giving him an 8. Got Bruno giving him an 8.7. Zilf giving him a 8.2. Brian giving him 8.5, saying his engine was running the whole match, not subbed off. Colonel giving him a 9. Zilf giving man of the match to Haile Selassie's butt for the deflection, 100%. I like it. And then there's a lot of Araujo talk in the chat. Justin giving him a 6. So, all right, yeah. So I think the general consensus though is this is one of the best matches Lennon has had.
Yep.
I'll take that all day. But I will say, and like you said earlier, he's been consistent. He's been, you know what you're getting out of him. But I think he has taken the predictability and he's maybe changed it up a little bit. Last year that was one of our biggest issues was it's always going to be a run and then a cross. We saw him last night take on guys one-on-one. We've seen him this season take on guys one-on-one. And how he's able to just trick everybody with the same exact cut to his right foot every single time is beyond me. The guy uses like the Force and the Jedi mind tricks to just convince everybody that he's going to somehow take it with his left foot, and he never does. But he's doing well with it. He's sending in balls nonstop, and now he's got a target there in Giakoumakis, like you said, that can get on the end of it. So, yeah, I fully expect. Again, I won't agree necessarily with Jason and say that he's the best right back in the league, but consistent, yeah, and he's up there for sure. Between the speed and the fact that he never stops running, he's always present somewhere. I mean, you got to give him credit for that.
I started an Araujo thing in the chat, and I just wanted to apologize ahead of time.
We knew
Zil says it's 100% a confidence problem, and Dak says he needs a good therapist to vent all his frustrations. You can see it on the field. This is, I said this earlier on Twitter, like it's 100% in his head, and like he's got that momentum, right? Like if he's doing well, he's gonna continue it on, and then when he has that one bad game, here he goes again, and it's just too much. It's been like this for too long, right? Like he came in hot, then he disappeared, like kind of towards the end there, and then struggled all last year, and now we're at this point again. And if the rumors are true that there's other teams that are interested in him, because there was a lot of rumors out there, right during the preseason, all of a sudden it came out that people were interested in Araujo. We keep bringing this up. You absolutely have to think about making that move and being able to replace him with somebody else. 100%. Like this might not be a fit for him. Maybe it's a personal thing. I don't know. It could be so many things, right? It could just be that he's just struggling in general. It could be that he's not happy here. He might, there were rumors that he wanted to move back more towards his home. Like there's a lot of things out there. It's okay if it's not working out. I think you just have to make that decision sooner than later. And I think that you've got a front office now that is maybe a little bit smarter and a little bit more veteran than it was before. And they might see that and I think personally there's quite a few changes that need to be made in this window. And I think he's one of the ones that should be moved out.
Yeah. I mean, I know we had a discussion last night about it. I want him to succeed so bad. I think there's still something out of him, but I just don't know that him playing as your right winger is the way you're going to maximize his potential. Yeah, I kind of hit on it last night. I think if you were to move him to the left-hand side and let him be a playmaker, I think that's going to really get what you need as far as the value in terms of what you paid out of him. But then that opens up the whole can of worms of, well, do you bench Etienne? Do you bench Wiley? You definitely don't want to bench Wiley. Like, the guy needs to grow because his ceiling is so high. Etienne, I will say, has not had the best couple of games, but I also do feel like you got to give him – he deserves more time, and I think he deserves more time to fit in with his team before you start calling it, an issue. I just think, the original idea was Etienne was going to be the slotted-in starter nonstop, and then Caleb Wiley made that choice difficult. So then I think it threw a wrench in the plans, and I think it threw a wrench in Etienne's plans. So – I don't know. I think there's that's a whole different topic, but I do think that Araujo has the potential. We know he's got the talent and the capability, but he just has to maximize on it. And like what you're saying, the time's kind of running out. Something's got to happen. So for what it's worth, FOTMob gave Brooks a 7.9 as well. So they're right up there as well. Moving on from Brooks, our last player, and we're going along with these player ratings, guys. We're trying to have fun with it. We're trying to give you guys a good show tonight, and then
it's different. So we figured we got people in here. Let's be interactive.
Yeah, let's have fun. Moving on from him, though, our last player rating
is. I forgot we had another one.
I know. It's going to be Santiago Sosa.
Oh man, we got to do this guy. All right.
I can't wait to tell you what FOTMob gave him.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That's called the tease.
Yeah, that's a tease. Now somebody's going to go Google it and try to put it in the chat comment, so we got to hurry.
No, let's give everyone a minute here because I think this is a good one.
Yeah.
Oof. Oh wait. Ariel, wait, he was on the field. That's what I call an Araujo special.
All right, we ready?
We got some people that are pretty high here.
Yeah.
Man, now I feel like jerk now.
I'm like second guessing.
I feel like a jerk.
Oh my god!
I gave him a 4. Okay. That's below average. Like a 5 is average. 6? Okay, well, damn. All right. Someone else gave him a 4. Zilf gave him a 4. Thank you, Zilf.
It's a good shout that Zilf has there, and I mean I'll start because I'll throw it out there for folks listening after the fact on the podcast. Zilf came before, said doesn't really fit in the team. I prefer Ibarra Sadic. Him and Josedu didn't work out at all. Sell Sosa and Josedu in the summer window. Now that's interesting. I don't think I'm back on any kind of like get rid of Josedu train, but I do agree that Sosa is running out of opportunities. I think he was the guy for so long when he could stay healthy, but now you've got a guy in Ibarra who's coming on, and I'm not going to ding Ibarra a ton for the mistake last night because that could happen to anybody. And I will say we've seen already this season that Sosa and Ibarra on the pitch at the same time does not seem to work. They tend to occupy the same spots. They want to play the same position, which is normal because that's their position. And I just don't think that they're suited to play together. So, but besides that, Ibarra has been the guy this year. I'm not going to ding him for the red card he got either because I think it's a red card by definition that he got. I also think you could have easily just given both players a yellow in that situation. But I'm all for my destroyer central defensive midfielder getting the occasional red. That's what you're doing. You're going to come in on some hard tackles and you're going to make a mistake and you're going to catch somebody high. And that's what happens. You're going to get a red card. You're going to get suspended. Whatever. It is what it is. I like what Ibarra is bringing. And Sosa, he's had a couple of opportunities now and not taking advantage of it. And tactically, like if you look at last night, you talk about, he was super deep, especially in the beginning, playing as essentially a third center back. And that worked because I do think that took Chicago by surprise. And I think what Atlanta's game, I honestly think Atlanta's game plan and Chicago's game plan surprised both teams, like each other. They really like kind of popped out in like a Mexican standoff and like didn't know what to do with each other. And Atlanta nicked the first goal, which is good. And then Chicago made the changes and were really unlucky to not get a goal earlier than they did. Sosa just wasn't as crisp and clean on the ball as he should be. And nobody was last night, but Sosa hasn't been that way the whole season. There's been matches like you can call it an aberration last night for Almada or even Josedu or, Miles, Parada, everybody else really. But Sosa, I haven't seen a game this season where he just is super clean on the ball like the rest of his teammates. And I like what he can bring, but he's just not bringing it in the way that I think we've seen. And yeah, that's why the 6.4 maybe based on what you gave him and what the chat's kind of saying, maybe that's a little high, but I do think defensively he at least was there in this match. So I gave him a little bit more for that, but he just wasn't good enough in the position that he needed to be in.
Yeah, I think it's time to potentially move on from him. There's a lot of players specifically now that are, especially the U22s that are Heinze guys. And there's nothing against it, but when you have players can play for other coaches, but there's been a tie to Sosa and Heinze specifically that I think is closer than what a lot of people think. And ever since he left, he hasn't been very good. And he's had some games, but he hasn't been very consistent. And Ibarra has been one where he was okay. And then last season he had his ups and downs. Like he had some really good games and then it went down. And then, we were hoping that, we expected him to have the starting spot over Ibarra. He was suspended those 3 games and we expected after that last game suspension, he was going to be the starter, and Ibarra just earned it and kept it. And Ibarra provides something different with this team than what Sosa does. Ibarra is a badass. Like that's just what he is. He's out there on the field, and if somebody messes around with one of your guys, he's going to be in your face. Also, Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis is probably going to hug you and tell you to get away right now because he hugs everybody. It seems that's like his thing. It's like my favorite thing about him. but like he brings something unique to this team that it hasn't had since early on, years ago in the early Atlanta United teams where, Lorenowitz was a hothead at times, and he was shoving people down. There's a famous video of him throwing the Red Bull player down on the field. Like he provides something different, and Sosa's just not there at this point. And I think that you should definitely think about moving on from him, because I still think there's value with him in the world, right? Like he's been tied to some transfer rumors over the past couple of years, and it's just, I think there's a point where you just say this isn't working, and I think it's okay to say Ibarra is working. Zil saying sell Ibarra and Sosa and Eric, and keep Eric. He wants to keep Eric Lopez. But you're going to have to think about this here, because depending on what Atlanta United wants to do in the future with their DPs, you could not have a young DP, which Omada is to this, and you could have 3 traditional DPs, but you can only have 1 U22. So if you wanted to do something like that, you are going to have to clear out 2 of the U22 players. And right now, I think most of us, except one person in the chat right now, would agree that it's likely Ibarra that you're keeping, and that's fine. But he was the last one. Like, if you told me these 3 players, like when they were all signed, which one do you think would be the one that we would be keeping or want to be keeping, years later? I think that most of us would have thought it would have been Sosa, and maybe second would have been Lopez, but nobody would have been expecting us to be saying this is Ibarra. But again, he provides something different to specifically this team, and he's doing a good job with it until that pass, which I will still say, I know this is about Sosa, but did you get confused multiple times on what team we were? I tried to watch the wraparound show.
In our forest kit, essentially.
Yes, I was watching the rap, or whatever it's called, where it's going all over the league.
360 whip around show.
You cannot have alcohol when every team is wearing the same damn jersey.
Yeah.
There was a point where I thought I was watching the same game for like 15 minutes, and they must have flashed like 5 different games, and I was like, what is going on? And then I realized,
the game is so weird.
Everything was the same, and I seriously wondered for like a brief second, like, did he think that he was passing it to the MLS 360? Thanks, Justin. I thought for 1 second, did he think that he was passing it to his own player? And it just went, that very well could have happened. And
I mean, yeah.
I mean, maybe Barr was having drinks with me too, and he just didn't know what team was what. I don't know. But that's my conspiracy theory I wanted to throw out there. I know we've gotten away from Sosa, but I don't think he deserves too much time of us talking about him anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, then I'll wrap it up. Look, coming in hot. I mean, I'm here for it. Hot takes galore tonight. We're going on right at an hour of player ratings, and I didn't expect that, but I'm here for it, because I do appreciate everybody that's jumped in the chat too. By the way, like, it's awesome.
Yeah, this is fun. We definitely should like do this again.
Yeah, it was a good time. So, I'm trying to make sure I'm starting. All right, so Dak giving Sosa a -2.
Oh,
dang. And then Brian, yikes. Ariel saying, wait, he was on the field. Bruno giving him, well, it got the to the 10th, 6.75.
Bruno, he's not watching. You could say what the real score is.
Justin giving him a 6, Brian giving him a 5.8, Colonel giving him a full 7, along with Elliot giving him a full 7. Zilf, I already said Zilf's earlier, giving him a 4. Garrett giving him a full 7, saying, I didn't think he was that bad, really, just a bad opponent to play against. And some of the stuff that we've said a minute ago, 100%, like, nobody had a good game, so that's definitely true. Making sure I'm not missing anybody. Colonel saying I meant 5. Yep. All right. So,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you go into this game that Chicago allows a lot of goals, right?
Absolutely.
They're okay on the offensive side, nothing special. You want to attack early, hopefully get up so that you could take some of your starters out and rest them for Wednesday and Saturday. How in the world do you not start Sadich?
Yeah, I was wondering that as well, especially considering he's going to be your more forward-facing number 8. And Josedu's getting there, I think, but Josedu, everything that he's done well this season has been alongside Ibarra. And so you didn't have Ibarra on the field either.
Yeah.
But give Sadich. I mean, Sadich and Sosa could have been a pairing that may have worked a little bit more. I don't know. I can't say that for sure, but I do think it would have created more scoring opportunities. Don't know what that would have done for the defense, but it is a good shout, and I think that's part of maybe the issue that the coaching staff is running into is figuring out, like, at least so far, Josedu and Ibarra work so far. Besides that, there's not a set in stone pairing that's worked really well. I mean, Sadich and Ibarra has done okay, but beyond that, it's kind of a coin toss. And Sosa being inconsistent, and I'll really quick, Sosa, I do feel bad in a way because he has been the guy that he came in, like you said, under Heinze, and then the coaching change, and then the injuries and everything else, and then he's just been. It seems like every time he does come back and start playing consistent time, the team is playing an entirely different type of football, and that's hard for anybody. But it's the injuries that are causing this, and the suspension, obviously going back to last season. But
and sickness, didn't he have a sickness too?
Yeah, some kind of weird
mysterious
non-COVID thing that left him out forever. Yeah, it's just some of
bird
it's not
flu.
his fault. The avian flu strikes again. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents on Sosa, but I do agree. Sadich may have been the better shout in this match. I do think you'll see him Wednesday. I think you'll see him next Saturday. We'll see. But Sosa getting on FOTMob getting the 7.9.
Tommy's left the chat.
I told you, it's just weird. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, the listeners here, everyone in the chat is way closer than we are, so I think we're the ones that are wrong. I think we give ourselves the L at this point.
Yeah, whatever. We tried, guys. I'm sorry. All right, so that's it for the player ratings. I do want to bring up our tweet of the week real quick as we because we've covered a lot with Chicago. We'll maybe touch on a couple of quick points, and then we'll dive into Open Cup and Almada and some other stuff. But tweet of the week this week, just going straight back to Dirty South Soccer. I got to give Jackson Popkins some credit.
I haven't seen this yet.
You said you have not seen this yet. This was freaking hilarious. For anybody watching or listening after the fact on the actual podcast network, you're just going to have to go to Dirty South Soccer on Twitter, scroll down a little ways past all the live tweets from the match last night, and you're just going to have to watch it because it's funny, but you'll hear it here. It was, I don't know how much time it took Jackson to make this and edit it, but it's hilarious. So without further ado, this is our tweet of the week in reference to Yorgos Yakimakis.
I can't see the picture.
Oh, no. We'll do it this way. My bad.
This is what happens when you do it live.
Yeah, technical difficulties, guys. Look, this is part of it. Can you see it now? We'll try it again.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, we'll just look at it small then. My bad, guys. Try it again.
Well, that was something.
Yeah, so that was Jackson's intro to live tweeting yesterday. Yeah, we'll clean that up and post edit. So it'll be 100%. Look, that's part of it, guys. Sorry, our technical guru Sydney is not here tonight, and I tried this beforehand and it worked with the full screen. And because we're live, it didn't work. So whatever. That's just part of it.
Trying is all that matters.
Yeah. I want y'all to give me an 8 at least on my player rating for next week for all the effort that I put into that. Please. But yeah, just thought it was funny. That was a good time. I love hearing him scream "Boom Yakamakis" for any reason, and the fact that he did it to, I think is that the Backyardigans? Maybe somebody in the chat can.
I think so.
I have kids, and I should know this, but I don't. I think it's the Backyardigans, but just the fact that you were able to attach that and make it fit so well into a cartoon is awesome. So that is our tweet of the week.
Bravo.
Yeah, bravo. Cool. Moving on from that. Do we have anything else to talk about with Chicago besides the fact that it was an ugly match? We got 3 points. Probably shouldn't have. It sucked. Let's move on and forget about it and never talk about it again.
Burn the tape.
Burn the tape. I'm good with it. All right, cool. We've hit everything we need to hit on Chicago. The twos actually did play a good game against the Chicago team. My son has just texted me that yes, or I don't know if actually he's verifying it or not. He might be laughing at me in my face, but he said it was the Backyardigans. But the twos did have a good match against a Chicago Fire team on Saturday. They played at Kennesaw at Fifth Third Bank and played a solid match. Nick Firmino had his second consecutive brace. So back-to-back games where he scored 2 goals. The guy's just he's found a form with the twos, and he's doing extremely well and not taking anything away from him. I mean, he's finding opportunities and he's taking advantage of the opportunities he's given. It's not necessarily that the team is playing, super pretty football and getting him a lot of service and all that. I mean, he's taking advantage of other teams' mistakes, but he's capitalizing on it. But the twos, they're building in confidence. I'm not saying that they're not playing pretty football to take anything away from them. I'm just saying that they're building something, and they're building it, and it's getting there. They're past their initial slump where they weren't doing too well in the first couple of matches. But they won 2-0. Nick Firmino had both of the goals. Kind of a fun fact if you didn't watch it. An academy player, Cooper Sanchez, became the youngest player ever to appear for Atlanta United, and he's 15. So he made a late cameo at the very end. Firmino, he got on the board in the 10th minute. There was a clearance out of the box from the goalkeeper. He took advantage of, jumped on it, and capitalized on it. And then a little bit later, Eric Lopez, who took the corner, we're talking about Eric Lopez again, took a corner and caught Firmino right in the middle of the box and scored the header. Took a deflection, but scored the header, and that made it 2-0, and that's how it rounded out. But it was good. It was a good effort from the twos, and they're, like I said, they're building confidence and they're going in the right direction. And you're probably going to see a lot of them on Wednesday. And yes, Bruno asking in the chat, did Eric Lopez get an assist? I'm pretty sure he did. So
who do you start? So I guess does this lead into Open Cup talk then?
Yeah, might as well. I mean, this is, I guess, the perfect segue because you are going to see a lot of twos. So if you had it your way, if you were Pineda, you were in charge for this Wednesday match, knowing everything that we know right now with injuries and potential injuries and everything else, who would your starting 11 be from let's say from the back to the front?
They're going to want to win this. Pineda is a huge Open Cup believer. Mm-hmm. So I think that he's going to try and win. The thing I'm struggling with is I guess we still don't know about Yakamakis. Like, again, he went down. He was holding looked like his hamstring again, which is what's been, paining him for a while. Is he okay? I think there's zero chance that he plays here. I guess the question is where do they think he's going to be on Saturday. Because that's what I guess what makes my decision here. Is it going to be Barry or is it going to be Eric Lopez? I think that you see both of them play on Wednesday, but I think that they are going to start Barry because I think that they want to start getting Barry cooking. And he's not had a very good start to his Atlanta United career. And I think that this is a point where Barry is going to start and hopefully get some opportunities to score here. And he's going to have some backup because I think, like I said earlier, I think Aruju plays. I think Caleb Wiley, I know a lot of people were upset that Wiley didn't start the game on Sunday, and that's okay. I know that they're trying to get NTN going, and Caleb had a game last Saturday, traveled, played like a minute, right? Like it was like barely any time with US.
He made a
traveled
cameo.
again.
He got capped.
Right. Traveled either, I assume Thursday morning, came back Friday, at least got to relax a little bit because the game was on Sunday. But you got Wednesday again. You got next Saturday. So I think Caleb Wiley starts. So I think the front is going to be Barry, Aruju, and Caleb.
No, I would agree with that. I think selfishly, I would like to see Eric Lopez. This is a weird thing to say.
Right. We did not expect this was not on our bingo card in the preseason.
Like, what are you doing? But Eric Lopez, he's doing well with the twos. Like he's taken whatever issue happened when he was at Banfield, and he's gotten back and he's taken things seriously. At least that's what his effort on the field is showing. And I understand you're playing against MLS Next Pro. I get the difference in the talent. I understand that. But you still got to do the job, and he's doing the job. So I would like to see Eric Lopez, but I do think from a coaching perspective, you're probably going to see Barry. Long-term perspective, kind of like you said, you want to get him cooking. You want to get him hopefully hitting the back of the net and give him some confidence. I also think that's the same reason you see Arujo. Arujo should have no issue playing a half. I don't think you want to do much longer than that because you're going to need him against Nashville. Jokes aside, you're going to need him against Nashville. But if I had to pick a starting 11, I think you are – if it were me, and I'm not saying this is what I predict. I'm saying if this were me in charge, knowing what I know, which is not as much as what they know, was what Pineda knows, I would pick Reyes at the back. So you let Diop rest fully for Saturday. I would probably then take Abram and Noah Cobb as my center backs.
Creative. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. I would put Aiden McFadden on the left as the left back. I'd put Ronald Hernandez on the right.
You're cooking. Keep going.
I'm trying.
I like it. I like it so far. It's creative.
All right. In front of right winger, I would stick with Arujo because you need a DP on the field. Whatever you want to say about him, you need a DP on the field. Left wing, I would definitely get Wiley involved. Up top, again, what I want, I would say Eric Lopez. And then midfield, I would be looking at a Johnny Fortune.
Ooh.
And I would give it to Ibarra to get Ibarra a little bit of his feet back under him, at least starting before Nashville. So there's I think that's 11. I didn't even count, but that sounded right. So I don't think I'm missing anybody.
I think Sadich, since he didn't
If I am,
play,
it might have been the number 10. I would look at Tyler Wolf.
I think that's too young. I think you have not enough experience, at least to start this game, if they're taking it serious. I think you see Sadich.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason why he wasn't playing, in my opinion. I know that there's the potential of the matchups, like you said, but I think that there's another reason for it, and I think that's because they want him to play on Wednesday. And I think he'd be one of the leaders to move the ball forward. Some people are saying Ozzy Alonso in here. We're not sure if he's ready yet. He is practicing with the team, which is a good sign. But just like any injury that they've been coming back from, they're really taking it easy. on some of them. So we're really not sure where he's going to be. Bruno did ask about the 4 internationals we could take on for Wednesday. That changed, I think, last season. There are no specific roster rules pertaining to being able to play a limited amount of internationals. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Which I always thought was interesting when it did exist, like that you had to, do what Jim Curtin was saying and check everybody's IDs to see who's able to play and who's not.
Make sure everybody's got a passport.
Right. Check the passport at the door.
Let's see. There was a good question. Justin asking, I'd like to know how Lopez is scoring. Are these headers? Because if we start Lopez, I doubt he's getting goals from the first team. No delivery to the number 9. Actually, his goals have been completely with the run of play. He's had some good goals. He's gotten the service on, a lot of the times on a good counter, but he's getting the ball and he's making things happen and he's putting the ball in the back of the net. So, he's doing well. He's definitely asking questions of the back line, and it's not so much headers and crosses as it is just getting played the ball and beating the back line. So, Bruno asking who will be the captain. Out of my starting 11, I just said, I think you got to probably give it to Ronnie. I think you give it to Hernandez. I think maybe Sadich. Did I say Sadich? No, I didn't. So yeah,
I said Sadich.
You said Sadich. So, but yeah, I would stick with Ronald Hernandez for me. Of course, it all depends on who play.
I'd say Sadich.
Yeah,
if that's it. I think we're wrong here. I think we're both wrong. I think we're going to be very off here. I think that they do at least play some more experienced players to start the game. Like this is, I think what we're doing here is, I think of, because I play FIFA nonstop and like do the season, like you see their energy bars like going down and like trying to plan like when your next game is. Like you think of that, but I think that you're going to see a lot of subs at half and really hope that you can get up by 1 or 2 goals in the first. So I see somewhat a little bit more experience in there, but Abraham is a very good call. I think that he needs to see play, and that's what I continue to struggle with is what's going on with him, just in general. Like I know Prada's not bad. Like he definitely gave the ball up quite a few times. Yesterday there was quite a few passes that went straight to the guy. Like he didn't even seem like he had like a good target there. Like he had some bad passes, and obviously he led to the winning goal. But a lot of his problems have been in the past, his defensive side of his game. And Brown was supposed to be like a really solid person to put next to Miles, and possibly the guy that will stay here. I mean, he's signed to a multi-year contract that he's going to stay here, possibly replace Miles in the future. And we haven't seen him yet. And it doesn't seem like they're really pushing to bring him in. And I think that when you're struggling to keep the lead in 3 straight games, you think that you'd want to put in maybe another defensive person to help with that, whether that's having an official 3 in the back. I know we said that Sosa kind of played that, but an actual 3 center backs back there stopping this, holding the lead. And we haven't figured that out yet. And we still haven't figured it out. And that's what we've been saying now for 3 weeks. They need to figure this out. We heard Pineda. They've been practicing this. This is what they were trying to do. They were getting ready for this. And it didn't look like that was the case at all. If anything, they just said, hey, since we practiced this, let's just park the bus for 75 minutes and just hope it works. And it didn't. So they've got to figure something out. But I think that Abraham and Ozzy Alonso, I think, are going to be huge keys once you get to the mid-season and once you figure out what you have. And I think those two would be, a normal subs to come in if they've got the lead.
Yeah, if Pineda can kind of figure out how to use them as like what you often refer to as a closer, both of them. We kind of mentioned it on the spaces last night, but you have to figure out the recipe for this team to be able to close out games. And right now, the way that they're trying to do it is not working, which is fine. But you got to figure it out soon because you can't give up another Toronto. You should have had 3 points in that match. You almost blew it last night. So you've got to figure out the recipe, because every team, as good as you may be on the attack, every team that is a championship caliber team knows how to close out a tough game. And right now, Atlanta's not doing that. Abram could be a key. Ozzy, we know, is going to be a key once he gets back, because he's going to get out there and he's going to handle business. He's going to hold down the midfield, and he's also going to be telling guys, who to pick up, where to go, what to do, the whole 9 yards. Abram could come out Wednesday and have an outstanding game. I don't know why he hasn't seen more time than he has, but that could be a variety of things. That could be something he's doing in training. It could just be that, like Bruno saying in the chat, Parada just hasn't lost his position yet. Which I agree. I don't think he's done anything egregious to the point to where like he has to be taken out. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely options there, but I do think Abram, you got to see what you got out of him. And Justin saying, we'll see him next year when Miles leaves. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see him. You're going to see him more in the future. And it does feel like Abram was definitely more of a long-term signing. And it could just be that they haven't felt the need to unleash him yet. You hope that's what it is. So I'm sure we'll see here in the next little bit. Eduardo saying, I think they're trying to increase Miles' worth and having Parada be settled in to purchase him next year, and have Abram and Parada if Miles doesn't renew, and he said purely opinion, but it's a good shout. I mean, because an Abram Parada pairing on paper doesn't sound bad. Unfortunately, we don't know, because we haven't seen enough out of Abram, much less a pairing. Because you got to think too, if you have Abram on the field, he is going to take that left center back spot because he's naturally left footed. You're moving Parada over to the right because Miles is going to be gone. That's going to change things up a little bit. Not much, but you have to have Abram on the left because he's left footed. And there are times where I remember a pass last night where Parada tried to use his left foot to make a kind of a long ball over the top to start a counter. And it wasn't bad, but you can tell that's not his natural foot. You get a guy over there that can do it. I mean, you're looking at a totally different skill set that could maybe work out. And we'll just have to see. I don't know.
Parada still is on loan. Yes, Bruno.
Yes. Parada is still on loan. And I will say, from what we've heard from him at the training ground, he wants to be here. He wants to stay. So I wouldn't expect, you occasionally get the player that is on loan that decides they just don't want to be at that team anymore. That happens. Parada's not that guy. Parada has found a home in Atlanta, and he does not want to leave. And I'm here for it. I think it's great because you want somebody that wants to be here. But for now, he's still on loan. Yeah, and Justin saying, besides, Parada right now is the only scoring center back. You really hope that Miles could get on the score sheet sooner, because he has the vertical capability. He just is not. He's not there. He's not getting, I think, what you really want out of a center back on set pieces, and that's not taking anything away from him. But you've got set pieces, which were a weakness for Atlanta last year, and they're doing so much better on them this year. I do think Miles can be a part of that. And maybe it's just that he's taken so much of the attention from everybody else, which is what opens up a guy like Parada or Giakoumakis. I don't know. But you would like to see Miles get on there a couple of times before he gets shipped out, probably to Europe in the wintertime.
It always seems to find him, though. Like Parada, the ball always seems to somehow get to him. And that ball was going straight to him, and it went off his calf. And I'm pretty sure there's a Parada calf Twitter page out there that just posts pictures of his calves. I see it all the time, and I don't follow it, but there's a lot of retweets from it. I think it's his calves.
Is it calf or thigh?
Thigh, calf.
I mean, either one's whatever. But anyway, we'll clarify and let you guys know later, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know if I want to.
No, but I'm sure my wife's following it. I'll ask her. She loves him. Like when she saw the picture of like them in the jerseys, or him on the lineup or whatever, and she saw him, she was like, "Oh," she's like, "Keep him." She wants a Prada jersey, yeah, just for that reason. And then I came home and showed it to her, that the goal or whatever. She's like, "That's why I need his jersey." By the way, MLS Shop does sell Giacomakis jerseys now.
Sweet. It's good to know.
They figured out how to put his name on the back of it. So that's a feat in itself.
Change the font.
Right.
Lower it down a little bit.
So what else do we have? We got predictions, right?
Well, I do want to point out one little thing on the Open Cup real quick while we're still on it before we dive into something else. I think this is common knowledge, but for those that don't know, the storylines that are going to be in this Open Cup match, it is a reunion of sorts for Atlanta United. Atlanta's playing Memphis 901, obviously of Memphis, Tennessee. And Memphis 901 back in November hired Stephen Glass as their head coach. Stephen Glass was the former head coach of Atlanta United 2. He did well for the Twos, and then he also became interim manager of the first team, if you remember, back around the pandemic. So for a few months, he finished out that season, and he was the definition of an interim manager. And Glassy, as he's commonly referred to, affectionately referred to, he's a good guy. He's a good coach. After he left Atlanta, he went over to Scotland, back to his home, and he took over for Aberdeen in the Premiership. And Aberdeen, unfortunately, kind of went on a tailspin. Didn't do that great. A lot of politics, a lot of craziness over there. But he's a good coach. He's a good guy. And he parted ways with Aberdeen, and then shortly thereafter got picked up by Memphis. So Memphis has started this season less than ideal. They have started off the USL not doing hot at all. The last Open Cup match that they played in, it was against a USL League 2 team, one Knoxville, and they barely won. They won 2-1 after in extra time. And when I say in extra time, they were in the 124th minute when they were able to score the winning goal. And that's what pushed them forward to this match with Atlanta United. So they're not in great form. It's kind of surprising because the other storyline here is that Bill Hamid, who was a thorn in Atlanta's side when he played for DC, is their goalkeeper now. So he's essentially dropped down from MLS to USL, playing for Memphis 901. And we know Bill Hamid. We know how good of a goalkeeper he is. The only one for Atlanta that could seem to crack Bill Hamid, and I'm gonna give my shout out to my boy Marcelino Moreno, was the one who he had Bill Hamid's number. But as a whole, Bill Hamid has had Atlanta's number. So you can't go into this match expecting a blowout. You should be able to blow them out. However, considering the rotation and everything else that you've got going on, considering that you've got a former coach who, and I'm not saying that Atlanta is the same team it was a couple of years ago, but you do have a coach that is familiar with Atlanta's ways in a way, and you have a goalkeeper who just doesn't like Atlanta and tends to screw them over. I don't think it's going to be a stroll. I hope it is, but it's not going to be, I think, the walk in the park that maybe you would get out of playing another USL team, relatively speaking. And that's not knocking USL teams, because there's going to be plenty of cup sets. There were last year. There will be this year, come tomorrow and Wednesday. But that's where we're at right now with the Open Cup. So there's a storyline there. There's lots of storylines. So I'm excited to see, Glassy kind of on the other end. It'll be interesting to see how he does. But he's going to be playing against a lot of players that he coached for the Twos a couple of years ago. Caleb Wiley being one of them. You'll probably see, again, a Johnny Fortune coming up through the academy if he plays. These guys were all there when Glassy was there. So it'd be really, really interesting to kind of see how that plays out. It's a mental thing.
They did play this weekend too.
Yeah.
Memphis, they played Las Vegas Lights 2-2.
So they're, again, not off to the greatest start, but this is a different game because of the extracurriculars that are involved. So we'll see how it goes, but on paper, Atlanta should win. In the background, though, there's plenty of other stuff going on. So it'll be interesting. But even if you you do get I think the score line that everybody expects, which is Atlanta should absolutely stroll through this game. I think you're missing a lot in the match if you don't know the backstory behind it, and that's the backstory. So I'm excited about it. It's always fun. It will be broadcast on Bleacher Report's YouTube, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know. It's not going to be, the Open Cup is not on ESPN Plus this year, unfortunately. Bleacher Report has it. You can go on their YouTube. You can watch, multiple matches, all the ones that are playing tomorrow night and Wednesday night. But as far as Atlanta is concerned, playing at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw, where the Twos normally play, starting Wednesday 7:30. And if you're not able to make it to the match, it is Bleacher Report's YouTube channel. So,
and there's some clubs that are not having their Open Cup even shown.
Yes,
I think Houston is one of them.
I think so. Yeah, there's been some last minute additions here in the past day, but yeah, there's a lot.
That's wild to me that they're just they can't figure something out how to broadcast it. Like that's small club vibes right there.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean,
they're fun.
They are. They're chaotic. I mean, Open Cup is like one of my favorite tournaments ever. Especially the early rounds. Like, I love the first and second round when it's just craziness. Like, there's just amateur and semi-pro and pro teams all playing together, and it's just crazy. But even when you get into the MLS rounds, and then, of course, like, the next round is when the Champions League teams enter and all that, like, it's just fun because you never know what's going to happen because MLS teams are going to be rotating and lower division teams are going to be coming out hot and they're going to want to win. So, yeah, chaos. It's just fun. I enjoy it.
I thought about it. We talked about it on our Patreon episode, and I made a comment about maybe teams not caring as much. But I'm going to, and he said, I forget his name now. I'm sorry. Yes, he made a comment about that some teams think that they could just get away with the rotation. But I'm going to fight back on that. I don't think Tata cared at all about it. And he really didn't even seem to show it at all. Like a couple of the lineups that he put out during the Open Cup were just whatever. Like here's a lineup. If somehow we're losing, we'll throw some guys in the last 30 minutes to hopefully come back. And then they couldn't do it. Then they got kicked out. And then I don't know. I think that this team is going to care. And I think that we definitely are putting in a lineup that's more youth oriented. I think that you might see more of that in the second half. I think we might be right in the second half starting, but I think you'll see some guys that are going to be there. They want to win this and they want to move on. And I think for Pineda, any trophy is a trophy. I mean, for the club, any trophy is a trophy. But Pineda wants a trophy.
Yeah.
And he's going to go hard for this. So,
yeah, I agree. And in theory, this is the match that you should be able to win with your subs, your second string, your whatever you want to call them. But you also can't underestimate a team like Memphis or any USL team for that matter. I will say, out of all the teams that you could have been drawn against in this round, Memphis is probably your most favorable in terms of how good they are right now. You had Birmingham potentially. Birmingham's a good team. You had the Battery, which is another great team, and if you watch this show all the way back to the beginning, our first guest, Tristan Traeger, used to play for the Twos. He's over there now. He's won man of the match already. He's got a couple of assists and a couple of goals, if I'm not mistaken, and they're just killing it over there. So you had a handful of teams that you maybe wouldn't have been afforded the luxury of resting your guys as much as you potentially could against Memphis, but you still can't underestimate them. You've got to come in and play your game. You don't want to. I don't think Giacomakis even sees the player sheet this time, but you hope that you don't even have to think about that. You hope that you don't need him at all. Almada as well. You should be able to handle this without them, but that's the Open Cup. You never know what's going to happen.
So, that one game where we had to play in the empty stadium, and then you had some supporters in the parking lot playing music. And we almost lost. And like I remember they kept saying one of the guys was like a school teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
On the other team, like on the side, and I was like, man, we're gonna lose against this team. And thank God for U.S. Open Cup MVP Brandon Vasquez, because that was because like didn't their stadium like flood? Like there was flooding and there was like sand everywhere. Man, I have a great memory.
You really do.
But yeah, so they moved it back to Atlanta, and they're like, well, it's not fair, so we're gonna have an empty arena match.
Yep. And
Going back
then
to my wrestling terms here, but you play in an empty stadium, and like I remember that was fun because like that was like a preview of what the COVID times were going to be, right? Like these empty, and like you heard everything. I'm pretty sure Mikey Ambrose played in that game.
Yep.
I'm like 99% sure because he kind of had like that like squeaky voice, and I just like remember hearing him just drop an F-bomb like when he took some guy down, and I was like, this is great. I love these empty stadium matches. And then COVID happened.
Little did you know.
Little did I know that was going to happen. Mikey Ambrose apparently was at the game. I don't know if you saw all of these tweets. But apparently he's a server. I think it's some restaurant. Someone said that he was serving it like them at a table or something like that a little while ago. But apparently his coworker took him to the game. Like this older woman posted a picture saying, I took my new employee to the game, and it was Mikey Ambrose. And then someone else like posted him like in the line buying food at the Benz, taking a picture of him. And then someone else said like there's a whole Mikey Ambrose story out there. Like, and now you don't like know which one to believe, right? But like somebody said they like flat out saw him serving tables. And then the other thing was apparently he's like referring people to like some type of coaching, like players to like some coaching program or mentoring program or something. I don't know. Really? There's a lot. I'll do some more research. We'll have a whole Mikey. Let's get Mikey Ambrose.
I was about to say, like, get Mikey to come on.
Yeah, I love him. I want to find out what happened, like him and Lorenowitz's like relationship, because it definitely looked like a dad, just like like always disciplining. Scott, we've been going for like an hour and 40 minutes. Now we're just ranting. But I remember there was a goal where they scored. And Lorenowitz, like Mikey Ambrose went to go in and like celebrate in the huddle. Lorenowitz like grabbed him by the head and just shoved him down to the ground. And it was the greatest thing that I'm pretty sure it was that Red Bull game.
Yeah.
But I'll go back and do some research.
Well, in the spirit of players who have moved on to other ventures, Adam John, I don't know if you know this, is now a data analyst for Carvana.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and so I'm kind of sad actually. And I thought about this. Like when I was younger, I just assumed that if you played professional soccer, you got to retire on a beach somewhere with a yacht or something. And the past 24 hours, like I know this is not the case. I've known this for a long time. But I don't think I wanted to accept it until I heard the story about Adam John working for Carvana. And now you're telling me that Mikey Ambrose is a server at like.
And I might be wrong. Someone said he works in finance. Like
whatever.
I don't know.
Whatever. I just that. No offense to them, but that makes me sad. It really does.
Yeah. Well, like, and that's what I think that what Jeff talked about a lot during the lockout that was going on, that was supposed to happen anyways, and then COVID happened, and then there was another lockout, was that he was really trying to get these guys more money because he knows that these careers can be short. And I remember looking at players like salaries, like when I first started watching MLS, because like I was telling my friends I'm getting into MLS, and he's like, and I was like, looking at the salary guides, and it's like, oh my gosh, like these guys are making nothing.
Yep.
You know, there are a couple guys that were making like 30, 40 grand. Like this was a while ago. And I was like, man, like these guys are traveling around. I mean, that's the same thing with, you know, even like minor league baseball players and stuff like that. They're making nothing and they don't pay for anything, but it's just wild. We did not talk about the Almada rumors. Eduardo's keeping us on track.
He is.
Should we finish up on that? Well, let's get predictions in real quick.
Let's do predictions. We can touch. We'll hit on the Almada stuff really quick. But yeah, predictions. For the Open Cup, all things considered, you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
3-1.
Okay.
Atlanta. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to guess goal scorers, but just 3-1.
Okay. And yeah, you guys throw yours out in the comments. I'll get to them. I am going to. And oh, by the way, Bruno asked him what the current minimum is as far as salary now. I think it's 85,000. I think is what it's been bumped up to. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is.
Researching now.
Well, while you're doing that, my prediction for the Open Cup against Memphis 901, I'm going to go 4-0. Atlanta did 6-0 on Chattanooga last year. And Chattanooga is a better team. But they also had a little more of a luxury going into that game in terms of players that were available, time. You know, this one, you're playing 3 matches in 6 days. You had Sunday, you got Wednesday, and then you got Saturday. Saturday is an away game. And I just think, like, you're really going to want to be careful in this one in terms of man management. So I think you conserve, and I know it sounds bad, but you conservatively say 4-0. I think you've got enough depth back in the back to not give up any goals. I think you should be able to dominate this match. In theory, we'll see. But yeah, 4-0 is where I'm at.
What kind of businesses are you looking for?
I'm looking for all the businesses here. Thank you for interrupting our show.
65,500.
Okay.
I think for most of the position, or for most, like, they're all different spots, but like,
okay,
it seems like that's the minimum.
Okay. So that makes sense. And maybe I was thinking of the senior roster spots that are 85.
It depends on what specific slots, but I think the lowest I've seen on here is 65,000.
Okay. Eduardo saying prediction 2-1. Ariel saying 4-0, like me. Vamos. Good job, Ariel. I like it. Bruno giving a 3-1, also saying Aruja goal.
Let's go, Ariel.
Justin laughing at Siri because Siri's a jerk and likes to interrupt my show. So yeah. So that's the predictions. I don't know. We'll have to get Sydney on after the fact and see what he thinks, and we'll post it tomorrow maybe. And moving on from that, yeah. So we've got the Almada rumor, main rumor right now. There's a lot of rumors floating around, but I think the big one is Thiago.
There's no draws, Justin.
Never.
Wait, unless he's saying, but okay, Justin, real quick. If it's 2-2 draw, who wins in penalties?
Yeah, that's the thing. And here, Justin, give us this. What is the penalty score line?
Oh, jeez.
That's what I want to know. I need the details.
Man, I have PTSD. Like, you know, I'm a Man U fan, and I remember, I think it was the Open Cup like a couple of years ago. It was like in the finals, and they went all the way, and it got to like the keepers. And then I think like De Gea missed it or whatever. But
yeah,
Man U was in a very long penalties situation on Sunday, and that was fun.
Yep. I hope the early round of the Open Cup for Atlanta does not come to that. I mean, it would favor Atlanta, but that's unnecessary. We don't need all that crap. I don't need that extra drama in my life right now.
Nope.
All right. So Thiago Almada to Napoli. The report came out last Friday or so, Thursday or Friday. A Naples radio station called, I don't know what this is in Italian, but it's called Kiss Kiss.
Yeah.
Reporting that Napoli are trying to bring in Almada on a transfer. Football agent Andrea D'Amico saying that the Napoli sporting director, Cristiano Guintoli, likes him very much and that a deal seems to be very close. And then Fabrizio Romano kind of threw in his little bit in the hat a little bit after that on the Here We Go podcast. And he was basically saying, like, it's not a done deal, which is contrary to what the radio station was essentially saying. But he did throw out that they are very interested in him and that they are looking at a potential price tag. Atlanta's looking at a potential price tag of $40 million. So, yeah, there's the Dr. Evil. I like it.
40 million.
$40 million. I mean, 40 million seems fair to me. When we had Mike Conti on the other day, I said I agree because he said you don't get out of bed for less than 30. Totally agree. I think I called it maybe 32 million is what I would say. If Atlanta's looking for 40, I'm here for it. And because you start off high and negotiate. I think if you get 35, you're happy. If you get 30, you're happy. But I just think you have to blow what you got from Miggy out of the water, and that's not a disrespect to Miggy by any means. But Almada is a different player that's going to be able to go to a Champions League team and make a difference. So you got to get well over 27 million.
Agreed. Listen to Jason and Mike. They brought up a good point. Like, he's not leaving until the summer. So you're not going to agree to anything. And, there were some reports saying that there was potential deal that's close here. And then there's other ones that saying they're just talking. You're going to probably get some bidders that are going to come in here because this is going to be a potentially long contract for a player that we knew before all the problems that were associated with him before we signed him was that big teams wanted him and they were all getting in line to try to sign him. So you're potentially going to have a couple teams bidding against each other. So that 40 million could be even higher depending on who's getting involved, how many teams are involved, and what they think his value is. And I'd say that his value, it's just continuing to go up, and just small things, like even small things. Like I know he was at the World Cup, didn't play. He did go and score his first goal for Argentina. Comes back, has been scoring some banger of goals. Like he's got a highlight reel.
He played a little bit in the World Cup.
I'm sorry.
He played a little bit in the World Cup.
Right. He played a few minutes. He had a cup of coffee on the field.
Yeah.
But
he
like
had a chance, it got blocked by Lionel Messi, so there's that.
Exactly. Like that's great. But I mean, this is going to be happening now nonstop until the summer. Until that window opens. And what I would be a little bit scared about is if we don't start seeing rumors about Atlanta United possibly being interested in some players that make sense, right? Because this team is going to always want to win. And I don't think that you're going to see you're not going to see Atlanta United not replace him in that window. They are going to find somebody. And I know they say they don't want to rush things, but you're having a really good start to the season so far. You can't screw that up. And you're going to have to be able to do that. And like just thinking of the transfer window just in general, like you could potentially make some big moves, like getting some people off the books, like possibly a Moreno, even though I heard it's not going very well with him. But if you can get Moreno off the books and then you can move Amada and possibly Aruju, you could really create whatever you want around your new star, Giacomakis. So I'm just personally excited to see what this team can grow into going into next year. Like this is just, I think this is a taste of what we're going to see because we know there's a lot of problems with this roster. We talk about it every single week. Like there is some legit problems with this roster. It's going to get better. And if this is just a taste of the success that we're going to see going forward, buckle up because it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's a good point because in theory, this sale transaction, whatever you want to call it, would propel Atlanta to, not that they have a money issue, but it would propel them to the point where they could essentially bring in any reasonable South American or European talent that they wanted. Now, that's not to say you're bringing in an Mbappe or a Messi. Like, I'm not talking about that, but a very, very solid key piece that is not going to be the same as Almada. You're not going to get another Almada. You're not going to get another Miggy. But you could bring in a guy that's going to complement, like you said, Tommy, a Giacomakis, because you know you're trying to build the team alongside and around Giacomakis. You've got him for a while. He's here. He's doing exactly what he was advertised to do. So Almada's on the way out. You know that Lagerwey and the front office, Bocanegra, they already have names in mind. I know they do. Who that is, I don't know. But like, it's not going to just be that the summer transfer window gets here and then Almada's gone and we hear nothing. I'm not saying that they go and sign somebody in the summer. I think they will if Almada leaves in the summer. I don't think they're going to wait because I do think it's quite understood that if you lose Almada, then the beginning of your season, unfortunately, might become null and void. And that's not knocking on anybody else on the team, but you need that creativity that Almada brings. And there are other names out there that could potentially, again, not be a replacement. Just like how we always talk about Yakimakis is not a Joseph replacement, but there will be somebody that can come in and still be quality midfield, quality number 10 that you need. So it's there. They're going to be looking for it. If the sale transaction does happen in the summer, I think you get somebody else coming in the summer. I think it would be different if Atlanta had started off the season terribly, but you're currently 6th overall in the entire league, 3rd in the Eastern Conference. So you don't want to blow that in the summer because you lose your main talisman, wonder kid. Find somebody to replace him with, get some depth, maybe make some other moves if you can. And we always like to think like, oh, things are hunky-dory right now because, oh, yeah, Atlanta's doing so well. Like there are, like you said, there are still issues with this roster that need to be fixed. And it'll happen. But the big one right now is Almada. If it's Napoli, it's Napoli. They're a Champions League team. It makes sense. There's plenty of other options out there. But you just you go with what's going to make the most sense. Yeah, get a bidding war started and then find you the replacement and find somebody that's going to come in and not miss a beat. So
I created a Moreno talk now, and
yeah.
I realized I've made a mistake. Moreno, yeah, he hasn't been playing much from at least looking at his game log, so it might not be a bad thing. It's probably not a good thing, but if you really, guys, I can't say this enough. Don't worry about value of what you're getting back from these guys. The most valuable thing on a team that has money is having the roster space, having the cap. And that's what you need. You're going to be making a ton of money off Almada. So if you lose some money on Moreno, or you lose money on Sosa, or Eric Lopez, or whoever that you're bringing out, it's not the end of the world, because you are making money with some of your other players that you have sold. I mean, even a Pity Martinez you made money on. So I don't think that that's a huge worry here. If they didn't get any player that was making money back, then I'd say absolutely. But they know they're going to make a bunch of money here off of Almada. So I think that kind of cancels out a lot of this. Like, okay, once if we get rid of this guy for pennies on the dollar, like that's okay, because that's what you need. You need to have the roster space.
Yeah. And Justin making a good point in the chat. Bring someone that we know is good for the team. I don't want to see another potential from South America. And Zilf, yeah, rightfully saying we aren't. Garth said that we aren't. Garth has made it clear that, and he even said the way that their analytics looks at things and what he wants is guys that are in their prime, essentially. Your guys that are kind of between that, like, I forget the age range he said, but something like 23 to 28 or 23 to 30 or whatever. But where you're in your prime, you're not a young guy that you're taking a gamble on. That's what your U22 spots are for. You get somebody, Yakimakis is the perfect example. He's 28 years old. He has a history of scoring, has a history of playing in multiple leagues and scoring and doing it successfully. You knew what you were getting with him, and that's what they're going to want when they look at a replacement for Almada. Coach B, Brandon saying, yeah, strengthen the defense. I think that's definitely because you got to look at the future with Miles leaving. Definitely a good shout.
Probably a summer thing, though. I mean, a off-season type move, yeah.
So, and yeah, a lot of names getting thrown out in the chat as far as replacements for Almada. I mean, there's a ton out there actually, and that's the thing that people tend to forget. Like, it's a big game. The world plays it. You're not going to not find somebody. You just have to throw down the money, and Atlanta's going to have the money after they get rid of Almada. So then it's just a matter of hoping he fits in the way that Giakoumakis has and the way that Almada did this year. So fingers crossed. But it's a good rumor to have. It's a good rumor to have, even if it only bumps up the price in the future. So with that, we are
2 hours.
in 2 hours. Look, me and you went longer than we typically do with 3 people on the show. How do we do this?
I don't know.
An hour of it was player ratings. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah. We can't. I was going to say we could blame them, but it's not blaming it. I thought it made it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Everybody jumping in and giving their own. And there was somewhere we were higher, they were lower. And then we got bossed on Sosa. So that's where we are. But yes, thank you to everybody that is listening or has been in the chat. We appreciate it. We're definitely going to do this again. I think this was a ton of fun, and maybe we try to change some schedules around on occasion to at least do this more often, especially on some of these bigger games here. And I think our next thing that we have planned coming up is going to be another watch along, right?
Yeah. We haven't decided for sure. We're thinking about maybe the Miami match because, there's a lot going on that week with the Joseph reunion and all that good stuff. But yeah, as far as the Patreon's concerned, we definitely trying to do another watch along soon. Maybe slightly less alcohol than last time. But yeah,
you on Spaces was you were pretty wasted on Spaces, so
it was rough. Not gonna lie.
It was like a role reversal, and it was great. So that was like one of my favorite parts was being the sober one out of that. I think I still had my kidney stone at the time. Yeah, it was fun. You just sent me a message, said wrap it up. I was like, okay.
I'm so happy that I got that out.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we'll get that together soon here. So if you guys want, it was a fun time. We just everybody logged on Zoom. We watched the game. Everybody chatted, screamed, did some shots. We gave away an MLS gift card, one of the Joseph candles. I have another one here. And Kevin from Charlotte, if you're listening, it's in the mail. It should be there in a couple days. Take a picture of the packaging because I couldn't find a box. It's pretty entertaining. So that'll come out here. But yeah, it was a fun time. That's probably one of the coolest things that I think we've done was that. And
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And definitely we're going to be doing more of them. We're going to be doing some AMAs, plenty of other content on Patreon. Again, the quick plug, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. If you're not already on there, it's a good time. We got more giveaways coming up too, by the way. We are working with some other local businesses, and we'll announce them soon to get you guys some neat little giveaways, some cool stuff that we're actually going to be doing on the live show as well. So not just Patreon, but the Patreon where we have some cool interviews coming up as well. Some guests coming on this show as well soon. So constantly working on stuff, trying to bring you guys some good content. Make sure you and your friends, tell your friends and everybody else to go subscribe on the YouTube channel, on Twitch as well. Make sure you're on Twitter, which you probably are if you're here. But yeah, we appreciate all the support, guys. Make sure you follow myself, ATL Pilgrim, Tommy ATL 96, and then Sydney, who again is not here, is at SH Wrights. And then we'll be back Thursday doing this same thing essentially all over again with it'll be me and Sydney. Tommy is going to be busy doing some grilling.
NFL draft, baby.
In the NFL draft. So he's got some things going on that day. But yeah, Thursday again at 7. It's a weird week, but you get two shows. So I hope you guys like it, and we'll do it all again. But
maybe I'll call in. Can you call in? Cool. I'll call in.
Yeah, you can do it from your phone. You just hop in for like 5 minutes. Just throw out a hot topic and then dip out.
Yeah. Aruju. Get him out of here. And then just bail and just have you guys deal with the consequences. That's what we'll do.
Jerk.
All right, all. Have a magical night.
It's been a good one, guys. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
See ya.